So, I'm not supposed to be on the computer right now, but I've been obsessing over learning interrogation techniques. Did you know it's not actually a sign of deception to look away while processing incoming information? Let's assume you're being questioned for a bank heist, where millions were stolen.
Dorothy Abigail Connor, are you on my computer?
And I'm caught.
Hi, Internet. Millie Connor here, Dot's mom. I can't see you, but I'm assuming you can see me.
The little red dot means you're alive.
I know that this is Dot's vlog, but she will not be joining you today as she is grounded from technology.
I didn't mean to,
I'm sure she will fill you all in later, but a word of caution, kids. Obey your parents. If they have a reasonably long chore list for you to do, go ahead and do it instead of neglecting it and choosing to binge watch FBI interrogation videos. Anyway, Dot will be back tomorrow. Goodbye for now.
You're out of technology jail!
I know, right? It felt so long. I was so bored, I almost didn't survive.
Dot, it was 24 hours.
I know, right? So long.
What did you do?
I used the computer when I wasn't supposed to.
Again? Dot!
I know. I couldn't help it. There was this really cool series of videos I found on FBI interrogation techniques. Do you know this is called Yorgobella and can give away information during an interrogation?
Dot, why?
Well, furrowing Yorgobella can be a classic sign of psychological discomfort.
No, why did you disobey again?
I don't know. I knew what the right thing to do was, but for some reason, still made the wrong choice. Who knows why anyone does the opposite of what they know is the right thing to do?
Yeah, I guess it is a real mystery.
It is a mystery. And I can feel it coming on. You know what that means?
It's time to crack the case?
Well, yes. But more importantly, the case is me. Hey everybody, we've got a new case and no time to lose. We've got quite a unique situation on our hands. The suspect in our case just so happens to be me. As you know, I disobeyed my mom yesterday. I knew it was the wrong thing to do, and yet I did it anyway. So we need to discover why I don't do the things I should do, but will do the things I shouldn't do. Since I'm a suspect in the case, it only makes sense that someone else lead the investigation, and I know just who to call. Remember the interrogation videos I was telling you about? Well, check this out. This is Mr. J. Warner Wallace. He's a former homicide detective who now speaks and writes about Jesus and the Bible. Sounds like just the guy to get to the bottom of my problem. It's time to take this case on the road. All right, we're here in an interrogation room, ready to discuss my disobedience problem with fellow detective J. Warner Wallace. So I want to make sure we get all the details recorded for our research. He's here. This is going to be very interesting. Come in.
Detective Connor, I presume?
That's correct.
I see you've elected to record this interview.
I have.
Interesting. I intended to do the same. So let me get this straight. you committed an act of disobedience against your guardians.
That is correct.
And you not only confessed to said act of disobedience, but you already received due punishment for said act of disobedience. I see. So, why am I here?
I need you to get to the bottom of why I chose to disobey my mother when I clearly knew better.
Ah, the classic, I do not do what I want.
But I do the very thing I hate.
Romans 7:15. What you're dealing with is what Christians of all ages deal with. After someone accepts Jesus as Savior, why do they still struggle with sin?
Is that a gesture-based holographic user interface? Cool.
Every person is born with a rebellious nature we inherited from the first humans, Adam and Eve. When Adam and Eve chose to disobey God, the consequence was that their descendants would inherit a natural tendency towards sin and lack any spiritual good before God from birth. But God has provided a way to be free from that judgment. When someone chooses to believe in and follow Jesus, God declares that person free from the penalty of sin and gives them a new spiritual nature that has the power to overcome sin.
Sorry.
Before we go any further in this investigation, I assume you believe in and follow Jesus as Savior?
Yes. It's just that sometimes I'm frustrated that I still make bad choices.
That's a common feeling among Christians. Sometimes we can expect belief in Jesus to act as some kind of switch between sinning and not sinning. But while God does declare us holy when we choose Jesus, there's still a process involving both God and ourselves to live by our new nature daily. This is known as sanctification, the process by which we become more free from sin and more like Jesus in our actual lives. Every day we have to yield to righteousness instead of sin, and God gives us His Spirit to help us do so. But perfecting that habit takes time to develop. And for what it's worth, I think the fact that you recognize your sin and want to pursue righteousness in your home is an example of the work of sanctification in your own life.
So, I guess I'll always struggle with wanting to do the wrong thing, even when I get older.
Yes and no. You'll struggle with some things. But as I said, God will continue to sanctify you and bring you more and more freedom as we walk with Him.
Okay, mister, tell us what we want or you'll get what's coming to you.
Alex! No, it's okay. He told me everything.
I take it this is the bad cop?
Yeah, we had this whole thing worked out. Sorry.
I can respect that.
I'm Alex. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Dad!
Hey, sweetie, it's good to see you.
What time is it where you are?
Ah, nice try, Gumshoe, but you know I can't be specific. So how's your week been going?
Not great. I got grounded for disobeying.
I heard, and I assume you changed your behavior.
Today was fine. I wish it didn't feel so easy to give in to temptation.
You know, I get it. I feel that way too.
You do?
Sure. I don't always make the right decisions, even as an adult. You know, I was unkind to someone this morning. God's still working on me. Same way He's still working on you too.
You're talking about sanctification.
Yeah, how did you know that word?
From a fellow detective.
That makes sense. Oh, hey, you know, 1 John 1:9, it tells us when we confess our sins that God is quick to forgive and to cleanse us of our unrighteousness. So, you know, I think we can both be encouraged of that today.
Thanks, Dad. When will you get to come home?
I'm not sure on an exact day yet, but soon.
Not soon enough.
Not soon enough. I love you.
Love you too. Bye. It took a lot of digging, but I've uncovered the truth behind my willful disregard of my mother's rules. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to be tempted to sin. But because I've trusted in Jesus, God's given me the power to fight that temptation. I'm not always going to choose the right thing, and when I mess up, God's promised to forgive me. This has been a tough investigation, but I think we can conclude that God's still working on me. We can definitely close the book on this case, Webtectives. I don't know about you, but I've got a feeling this won't be the last time we'll deal with a case like this. But don't worry, He'll be right with me every step of the way. Remember, the truth is out there. You just gotta go find it. Catch you later.